Good afternoon, my beautiful, beautiful kings and queens. I hope that this is a beautiful and a blessed day for you all. So this is for somebody. So the enemy, or the tactics of the enemy, because we know that we are wrestling not against flesh and blood, but the tactics of the enemy is no longer working, simply because they have built a drawing board based on the individual that you used to be, based on past versions of yourself. But we know that when we accept Christ, we die to self. So that old version of you has literally died. So the strategies that the enemy, or the camp of the enemy, is building, they are actually building based on a version that no longer exists. Anointed ones, truly, when you really come into the realization that your life is not your own, when you truly come into the realization that it is God that is in control of all things, you tend to allow God to take the wheel. You tend to allow God to sit in the driver's seat of your life. And you understand that if the enemy has to go so hard to access you, first the enemy had to get permission from God. Just as Satan went to God and accused Job, the enemy will always accuse you, because he's an accuser of the brethren. So remember, the enemy first had to ask for access. He went to God and said, have you considered your servant Job? He said, if you were to take these things away from Job, Job would curse you, Job would turn away from you, and Job would no longer serve you. He is simply serving you because you have had the hedge of protection around him, simply because you have blessed him with every good thing. So the enemy went and the enemy asked for you, anointed one. And God allowed these things to happen because you have to understand, anointed ones, that before you level up, there's going to be test after test after test, after trial after trial, because God has to make sure that where he is about to usher you into, that you are prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. God can't give you the palace if you still have a joker mindset. God cannot give you your inheritance if you are still so in love with Egypt, if you are still so in love with the ways of the world, and you are not trusting his manna, you are not trusting his provision, you are not trusting that his ways are just and his ways are true. So the enemy asked for permission, anointed ones, and God gave them the permission. And even though God gave the permission for these things to happen to you, even though God did not take the hedge away from you, he allowed certain things to happen. And that is also to show the enemy that he is God. God is allowing these things so that the enemy could realize just how faithful he is and just how true he is. When this whole thing is done, anointed ones, even the people that went out of their way to harm you, they are going to have to admit that you are serving a living God. Even the people that have talked bad about you, the people that have done witchcraft against you, the people that have gone to just crazy lengths to hurt you, they are going to have to admit that you are serving a living God, anointed ones. But yeah, so they are plotting and planning against the old version of you. Because these individuals were in your life for so long, they studied you, for lack of a better word. They studied how you move, and they studied how you would react. And that's the person that they're targeting. That is the person that they are plotting and planning against. But you are no longer that individual, anointed one. You are no longer the person that they knew. You are someone completely different because you have died to self, literally and figuratively speaking. You have died to self. You have crucified the flesh. You have crucified that just the junk that God could not use. And now, because you have come into Christ, and because you have become a new creature, and because the old things are passed away and God has made things new, they honestly don't know how to strategize against you anymore. They honestly don't know what pushes your buttons anymore. They honestly do not know, or the enemy honestly does not know how to come at you again, because you are no longer that person. You have literally and figuratively, you have died to self. So they're at the drawing board, and they don't know what to do, because they are no longer acquainted with you. They are no longer acquainted with the individual that you were. They are targeting the individual that no longer exists. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day. Be kind.